Do you wave your terrible towel when Renegade plays? Reach for a tasty cake when JJ shouts, "He scores!" Does the sound of an F1 engine make your heart race? Doing push-ups with the Nittany Lion after a TD? Then lend us an ear, and we will share the exhilaration of Steelers football, the excitement of Flyers hockey, the nail-biting finishes of F1, and the pride when we yell, "We are Penn State." Welcome to the SteelFlyers show, the strangest combination of sports fandom since pineapple was put on pizza.
Well, hello, boys and girls. It's when we feel like 8 o'clock, and I'm Pearl of Wisdom, and you're listening to my NHL Pearls of Wisdom in congruence with SteelFlyers, www.com SteelFlyers. This is Steel himself right here on the whatever side it is on you are that just said peace. That's him. You should know that already, actually. Everybody in the land knows it. And there's Professor Joe Borek, who is in affiliation with, in fact, it's not really affiliation, has a YouTube channel called Sports Fanatic News with the PH, Fanatic News. And everybody in the land is watching that, so you should probably get over there too. Hit the subscribe button and all that. We're also affiliated with a lot of other things, but we'll get into that after. We are doing a series, aren't we, friends, on the NHL, every NHL team in I call it the Pearlo alphabetical order, which is basically somewhat alphabetical depending on what I feel like doing that day. Because that's what we do here when we feel like 8 o'clock industries, we do that. And today we are looking at the almost Stanley Cup champions, the Dallas Stars. And part of the reason why we're doing that is because our friend Steel here almost predicted the Dallas Stars. Just about. But he did predict the Dallas Stars to make the finals. So, yeah, that was pretty awesome. And we figured, actually, that's just part of the reason. Steele's always hanging about, and we love him, and he's awesome at what he does, so that's why we bring him on. And then Joe too, which he's called the professor for a reason. So let's get into, we did Detroit, or no, we haven't did, I did Detroit by myself. We just did one with John from Off the Wall Hockey. That was Buffalo, right? We did Buffalo.
Correct.
Buffalo yeah. So you can check that out too. I'll put it in the comment section. It's pretty cool. But we're going to talk about Dallas now. They made a lot of moves here, really, in the offseason, but somehow still made things very interesting at the same time, partially because of not doing said moves, I would think. What do you think, Steel, about Dallas's offseason and their approach to how they did everything here? After almost making the Stanley Cup?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on, man. It's always a pleasure being with the pros and the nos, and you guys are definitely it. Very blessed and honored to be here with Professor Joe and with Pearl of Wisdom. You guys are the cat's meow, that's for sure. So thank you very much for having me. Let me say this about Dallas. I did pick them. They were my sleeper team. I thought that they would have had a better offensive showing based off of their offense that they have and based off of the team that they put out on the ice. I was quite a little bit, when I started looking at them a little bit more in depth and starting to see that, man, they got pretty much most everybody wrapped up for this year as far as contract-wise. And so they didn't really have to do much. They had to re-sign Hudobin, which they did, okay, and he's very happy with his contract. He's very grateful to be back in Dallas, and I think he played the best out of both the goalies that were there, you know what I mean, and I think he gives them the best chance to win moving forward based off of the type of team that they put out on the ice, okay, so they did go out and excuse me, they had to go out and get Dennis, right? Garanov.
Well, he came in as a rookie.
Right? So they did give him a nice contract for a rookie to come in there.
Him up.
Yeah. Average salary is $2.25 million for the next 2 years. So that's a good salary for him. He had an up and down year this year. He played down in the AHL for a little while and then came in and lit it up in the playoffs. So, I mean, Okay. They also are looking to sign the Rupe Hintz, right? I just because I know how much Professor Joe wants to say that name again, you know. But if
Yeah.
they sign him, right? If they sign Rupe, and if they sign Corey Perry, then they're not going to have too much money cap wise.
No.
So they're going to be that's pretty much going to be it. They're going to be tapped out after that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You would have enough
So
money for like one of the veteran older defensemen that you could get just to have a good veteran that you like in house with your defense core. That's about all you would have money for at that point, probably.
yeah, I mean, as long as he was
Or
like
an
under
older
$1 million
forward.
or something, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or an older, or just bottom six forward. Yeah, one of those two positions. But I would say Dallas would want a bottom four defenseman more than they want a bottom six forward. They have
Hmm.
enough depth at forward.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So there you go. The fact that they didn't do any moves just goes to show you that the fact that they're bringing back most of the same team that they put out there this past year that was one not far from hoisting the cup. Let's face it, they got completely outmatched by the Tampa Bay Lightning for the Stanley Cup, but they had a very successful season. They outplayed their opponents when they needed to. And let's face it, the West was pretty competitive this year. So I even would think Dallas wouldn't even be a sleeper team next year. I think you would actually have to put them right there in contention to come back for next year just because they didn't do hardly anything and they did bring back and keep almost all of their same players, and then they re-signed Hudobin and they gave their rookie contract to, you know what I mean. And then hopefully they'll sign Hintz and bring back Perry.
Yeah.
Joe, so um, we, on the other hand, did not see Dallas making it as far as that was the case, and a lot of that had to do with the fact that their offense just wasn't humming in the regular season. But what, in your mind, how do you like this idea of not really changing things up all that much, especially bringing Hudobin back, who is actually fairly expensive for a backup, but not for his ability. But we see a lot of backups being signed out there for a lot less than Hudobin, and he got a 3-year contract, which seems like which is quite a bit in this environment. Would you say?
Excuse me, it is, but I think when you watch Hudobin, he loves Dallas so much, and Dallas gravitated to him so much is probably the better word to use. Where that's just a perfect fit. Where he also plays, he has a good relationship with their defense already. He was in sync with them as soon as he got in. So, if there is still issues with Bishop in terms of health, you have confidence having someone like Hudobin come in rather than now Ottinger. I have confidence in, but I'm talking about it rather than bringing in a whole new goaltender that has to learn your system and learn your defensive quirks of each defenseman and all that. It's better to just have the guy that worked very well. And he took a very funny contract too, like we said before the podcast. 3 3 3 3 3 3 3 3 3 3. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
but uh, the
I
with
could
that,
actually hear Hudobin going, "I will sign with you, but it must be 3 3 3 3 3 3.
All the way across, yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not doing it." I could hear
Yeah,
him
right. He did
but
a video. He did a great interview, like right after he signed on. I watched on
yeah,
NHL Network. That was really cool that he was able to come out there and explain why he came back to Dallas and exactly with what you said, Joe, right there. And you even pointed that out too in all of our videos that we did throughout the playoffs and the round robins that he played much better with the defense in Dallas than what Bishop did.
Mhm.
well, and when Bishop, that was in the playoffs. Bishop obviously outplayed for part of the regular season why Dallas got to where they did. Hudobin, and
Right.
Hudobin was the best statistical backup, one of the best statistical back. That's the other thing. When you're coming off of a year where you were already one of the best statistical backups, and then you went off in the postseason, that's going to help your contract. So I think he got an extra year. They're probably looking at 2 years maybe. And then because of what he did, it moved it an extra year. But Gurianov, who Steele brought up, he's right. He got hot as a firecracker, fell off a bit, but he still became their leading scorer because Dallas had no scoring in the regular season. At 20 goals as a rookie, he was their leading scorer. So that's the only concern I have. But the reason that could mitigate the concern is they started scoring more at times in the postseason, which is after Rick Bowness took over, had his camp. Then they had the postseason. So Bowness's system is going to suit the Stars best. It was starting to show some signs of that, but not fully because of what we said. They got far, but they got far from being opportunist at times, not being the better team on the ice, where the next step would be the better team on the ice, the team that's coming towards the other team gauntlet, like go right at their gauntlet rather than having the other team always going right at your gauntlet. That's what you need. That's the only thing that needs to adjust for them, because if you look at their team, it's not like they don't have people that can't score. I mean, Joe Pavelski turned into the second coming of his 25-year-old self in the postseason. So if he can figure out how to do a fraction of that in the regular season, that would work. Jamie Benn is only 31, and realistically should still be playing much better than he did in the regular season. He finally got going in the conference finals of the playoffs big time there. And then Radulov's fine. Radulov does what he does. He's usually been pretty fine. And then Seguin, we found out, was really injured. So we'll see what he can come back from. But they just need these guys to keep developing, especially guys like Kiviranta, who they scouted really well. Because if you can get an undrafted guy to continue to, he's obviously not going to produce at the pace he produced when he came in the playoffs and just lit it up, but produce at a good pace wherever you throw him as what seems like he could be a jack of all trades, can play left and right wing, move up and down. Then you have Gurianov, who went from 20. He could be a guy you look to go from 20 to maybe up a couple goals, and then mid-20s, and then build, keep building.
Shot for it.
Yeah.
He does have the shot to get 30. It's just will they set him up enough? That's what I need to see first, because Dallas, I need to see them be more consistent at offense, where they're not the opportunist team. They're the team that's the opportunist team when they need to be, but also just outplay other teams, which is not fully what you saw yet. But I think it's smart to stay, Pat, like you said at the beginning with the question. I think it's smart to kind of keep, because everything worked, and you don't want to put your cap in space signing one of the bigger forwards this year, because after next year you got guys like Cogliano fall off, as you have to sign guys like Heiskanen. So you're going to want to be able to figure that out there. And then they also obviously brought in recently a guy that I know Steve and I like, is a mix-in defenseman and a guy that can also play wing. They did bring in Mark Pence. So
Mark Pitzer. I like him a lot. I think Florida's making a big mistake there. I don't know what happened with in Florida there, why they did not see the value in him, but I think they're making a big mistake. I really thought that was a great pickup. A few things I wanted to just mention, Joe, as you were going on there, though. I still think this is the way I see Dallas. I think Dallas did get outplayed in the playoffs and happened to make it there based on a few things. First of all, they're big bodies. Vegas did outpossess them, but wore down over time because Dallas is that big. Dallas did play in their zones a lot, but while they were there, they beat them down pretty good. Yeah. So that was part of it. And I think they had a hard time at the end of this, by game 5 and 6, they had a hard time having the strength to get the shots on Hudobin that you need to get to score. And then in doing so, Hudobin began this confidence of feeling totally invincible. And that just carried on all through. So it worked out really well, which shows everybody that, I'm a guy who does watch fancy stats. I pay attention to them quite a bit. But where Toronto made a big mistake is if you think size doesn't matter in the playoffs, you're insane. Because you can have poor fancy stats but still beat a team down and win, and Dallas showed that. And now, as far as not changing their team, I think it's a huge benefit when you're going into a season where practices are going to be hard to come by. Now, I'm really kind of concerned about the Montreal.
Great point. Yeah,
I'm
because it's
really,
going to be a condensed season, and
yeah.
guys are not going to have the practice times that they're normally used to having. You know what I mean?
And now I'm
The
really
most
concerned
practice
about
time.
Montreal Canadiens of the league and stuff that have did all these moves. And now this team has to gel, and they don't have the practice time that they're normally going to have to make adjustments as the season begins. And a
Yeah.
lot of people will say, well, they're going to have a preseason, they're going to have all
That's
that.
what I was.
But
That's what I was
anybody
going to
will,
say. What do you think about that?
but anybody will tell you, any teammates, like players and coaches will tell you that the preseason and all that is only a precursor to the actual what happens in the regular season. If a team can't make adjustments during the regular season, they're usually screwed. Doesn't matter how good their talent is. And that is to be a thing for me. I'm a little concerned about Montreal, but not anywhere near as concerned with Dallas for keeping their team pretty much the same. And the only thing is Rick Bowness. I think Rick Bowness has been. I want you guys to ask about that. Like, I'll just let you guys do it. Rick Bowness. What do you think about Rick Bowness and what he did for this team? Getting look like he was also struggling getting them to be in a scoring team rather than an always playing defensive team that has been built up in Dallas for years through Hitchcock and this stuff like that. Do you think Rick Bowness is able to get these guys focused more in the offensive zone the way he did somewhat in the playoffs?
Do you want to go with that, Steel, or do you want me to go?
Yeah,
Joe,
go ahead,
go ahead.
Joe. Go ahead.
I think he'll be able to slowly get it going because I think I think you saw people bought in as the playoffs went on just from watching because, like I said, we saw Seguin had a big injury. He might not even be back. He's probably not going to be back, I don't think, as soon as
I don't think for the
the
start.
season kicks off.
Yeah.
So
Really?
he was battling through that. And he still played pretty good defense and played his best defensive side on the forecheck that I've seen in a while. So I think looking at that, he bought in. You could see a guy, an undrafted guy like Kiviranta, bought into Bonus wanting to supply more offensive, like a crash the net, just get towards the slot by the net mentality because he scored a lot of his goals either in front of the net or right getting to a good place in the slot. So it seemed like people were starting to buy in more. You saw Pavelski really lighten it up as we saw shooting more and all that. We saw Ben in the conference finals really started moving himself more on the offensive end and showing some signs of those plays where he gets himself to the front of the net by just using his big body. So I think we saw great progress with Bonus, and I think we're going to continue to see that as time goes on, as they continue to build a better team for Rick Bonus with a little bit more solidification too, because what I know is going to happen after this year when they lose some money is probably going to be re-signing Heiskanen and potentially getting another defenseman, because you kind of have like your like four guys that you really like because they really like Sakara too. Then you got everyone else that mix in. Steven Johns, when he's healthy, and bless him for being back from everything, is a good bottom six. But and then you have Alexiak. Those guys are similar righty lefties, so you might not want them on the same line. Neither of them's that fast. So like just some stuff to consider. Then you got Pissick. Are you playing them at wing? Are you playing them at D? So you have different things to consider amongst them there. So I just think he has a lot of stuff to play with. He seems good in that situation. I would say I agree with what Steele said at the forefront. Dallas is a team. The only caveat would be if Ben Bishop is having issues during next season. That should be favored to get back into the playoffs and do fairly well. I love Ottinger, but if Bishop's injured in a condensed season, I'm not putting all of my cards to him in a kid. I think it's a chance to be a great goalie in the league getting thrown into a condensed season. It's an unknown world. So I'm
Yeah.
not going to say I 100% think Ottinger can get thrown into a condensed season and do great. I think he could do adequate, but we'll see if he'll do great in that situation, because hopefully Bishop is not coming to his mid-30s where he starts having those bugaboo injuries that just seem to never fully go away, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no,
How
that
about you,
makes sense.
Steel? What do you think about that?
I like what he's done. And I think that, as you saw, uh, look, I think they got a little bit, because they're bigger bodies, and I think they were chasing the game a little bit there, especially against Tampa Bay. And when you get larger guys like that chasing the game, it wears you down much faster. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And they got outplayed, because I think the Tampa Bay Lightning is a more complete team, and they were able to pretty much take it to Dallas, way more than Dallas was able to take it to them. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But I do like the system that he's put in, the coach. I like the fact that he was able to come in there, and this is going to speak right here to you, Perlo. The ownership of this team has kept everybody together for a reason. I mean,
Mhm.
do you honestly think about it? If they re-signed everybody, kept almost the whole same team back, they honestly really believe in what this guy's doing. Okay, and that to me says a lot about the fact that they're trusting in this coach to get them to
Mhm.
where they need to go. You know,
And I gave him
I
extension and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm looking for Dallas to not just be contention for next year. I'm looking for them to do so in the future. I know after this coming year it's going to be interesting, and their team is going to be much different after this coming year. But look, their window is now, so you got to embrace it while it's now.
Oh yeah,
You
it's definitely now for sure.
Exactly. And because of what they did, and also the other point, too, that you have to take into consideration as well. This is going to be a condensed season. This is going to be major lack of availability for practice, and major lack of availability for teams to get together. And I think that teams that did make a lot of moves, like Montreal and some of the other teams that made a lot of different moves, are going to be that first 10 or so games of the season are going to be, not their best. And you're going
Could
to
be.
see,
Could
yeah,
be.
you're going to see teams that are going to need that first 10 games to get everybody all on the same page, you
Yep.
know.
And that
And
could
when
be it.
And when you
That could
don't
be their
have all
season.
that turnover
Yeah.
with all those new teams coming in, or all those new players coming in,
Yeah.
that just bodes well for your team, for your coach, and for everybody involved, because everybody knows where everybody's been, and you've been down that road before. I really
Yeah.
like where this is going. I really look for Dallas to definitely be in major contention for this coming season. And if they're not, then I'll definitely be scratching my head. I don't think they're sleepers anymore.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny that you mentioned the word sleepers for Dallas. There was no reason for it. And I think if you remember, before the playoffs started, I said, this is a huge waste of talent. And that was because of the system that had been put in place in Dallas for years that worked for Hitchcock back in the
Well,
2000s,
yeah. Well,
whenever.
yeah.
But it was a different game back then.
He had the players, and it was a different game. Yeah, I'm
It
with
was a
you.
different game back then. And they have had a very difficult time of taking that philosophy out of their heads. And it seems that Rick Bowness has been the first coach that's been able to crack it a little bit. So if they can, if they can improve now, if they made the finals the way they did, imagine if they actually buy in by the end of the season. I mean, we could be looking at a Stanley Cup team here for sure.
Easily. I
And
think
that's
so.
what I meant by that when I said this was a waste of talent. I wasn't
Yeah.
really trying to be a jerk about it. There was a lot of talent here, but these guys are playing in a way that wasted their talent. And Bonus
Yeah.
did a very good job, I think, of turning that around. But this has been awesome, guys. This has
I
got to be.
think one thing I was going to say, though, so I gave you the information about it since I brought it up. Seguin could miss up to 4 months with his hip surgery.
Oh
Which would
my
definitely
gosh.
run
You know what
into
that tells me?
would run
That tells
into
me
the
that
season.
Sagan's been playing with that hip injury for a long time.
Yeah.
And that explains a lot of the reason why he hasn't been putting up points the last 2 years.
That also needs to be addressed, though, because that would make me think a guy like a Pissick might play more likely at forward to start the season. So guys you have that can play center or wing can play center. So you have somebody in Sagan's spot.
And they're going to
Because they
have
got
to,
a lot of flexible guys.
they're going to have to sign Ropo Hintz because Ropo
That's
Hintz
yeah. I was
is
just gonna say
Yeah,
that
he
makes
can also
signing
play center. Yeah.
that makes signing Hints that much more important for them because they're gonna be missing Sagan for that amount of time
The
though.
good
For
news
sure.
is Ropo Hintz looks like he's going to be a beast. By the way, Guriano was talked about for a very, very long time here, and Dallas has kept on with the kid. He's been a slow burn, but it looks like their patience has paid off. And to talk about the ownership, like you're saying, I would put this ownership up in the upper echelon of the league. And you know what? I was just going to say the name of the person who owned it, and it just slipped out of my head at the moment.
Oh
So
no.
down in the comment section, remind me. I can't believe I forgot.
Tom Gallardi.
Gallardi, that's how you say it.
Gallardi,
Thank you.
Gallardi.
I don't think that was. It could be it. Anyways, doesn't matter. That's our full 42%, boys and girls. I hope you enjoyed this Dallas talk about the Dallas Stars. We're gonna have, I guess, what Edmonton's got to be close here. I'll have to go on my Perlo chart and combine the alphabet with what I feel like and see what it comes up with, and we'll tell you all about it. But it's probably going to be Edmonton-ish, Chicago-ish. Should be coming here right away.
Yeah, what
And
about Boston? Have you done Boston? What about Boston?
Boston, Deli and I are going to be doing tomorrow, maybe, actually.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
So
And this is Friday now,
tomorrow.
boys and girls, if you don't know already.
Yeah.
So tomorrow would be Saturday. So that'll be coming up right away, and it's all going to be much frolic, and we're all gonna do a little frolic dance because it's going to be so amazing. Talking about that, SteelFlyers.com. You want to talk about frolic? Absolutely amazing. It's a great site already. Him and Steel and his wife, beautiful wife, do some podcasts together where they talk about Formula One, football, all the sports, which is what the Steel Flyers website is going to be. It's going to be an all sports radio broadcast and
you name it. One-stop shop.
One-stop shop for podcasts,
All your sports,
YouTubers,
Yep.
everything you can think of, every sport, every team, all the time. It's going to be incredible.
Yep.
And you can find all of our stuff there. You can.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Got it.
So
Yes.
Joe with his all his writings and everything like that. Just go to Steele's Friends. You'll find us there. Boom, everything is there. Have a great day, everybody. Lots of love to you.